Welcome to another edition of the Chris Rocket Podcast. I think this is episode 15, man. We racking them up, man. I am Chris Rocket. Thank you guys for joining another episode. We got a few things to get into. Might be a short episode, man. Just to keep from rambling and all that, man. A couple things happened in the past 6-7 days, man. We got Eric Bledsoe on the trading block. We're going to talk about that. World Series. We're going to actually talk about the World Series. I didn't talk about it last time, but definitely going to get into it. And we're going to talk about Martavis Bryant, man. Pretty much not a huge topic, in the NFL, but I'm going to get into it because, I'm kind of interested in Martavis Bryant. But we're going to get into all that. We're going to start with the World Series, man. Houston Astros and the Los Angeles Dodgers. We have the Los Angeles Dodgers taking game one, man. Hell of a pitching performance by Clayton Kershaw. 7 innings, 11 strikeouts, man. A lot of people, they are, they've been critical of the guy, as they should. A superstar like that, he needs to produce. And he did just that, man. 7 strong innings, man. And this World Series is exactly what I thought it was going to be, man. A lot of interest, a lot of suspense, a lot of timely hitting, and all of that, man. And of course, game 2, we had a little offense, man. We had the Astros, winning in extra innings, man. 7-6, man, in 11 innings, man. I didn't see now one of these games, man. So I'm just basically going off the top of the dome, but I will definitely get into one of these because, of course, I gotta represent for my Mavericks, man. And of course, if the Rangers was in the World Series, I'd be all over this. We had our 2 straight back in, I think, 2011, 2012, either 2011, 2012 or 2010, 2011. One of those 2 intervals. But this World Series right here is something that people gonna look back and say this is a classic. For me, if you ask me who I want to win, it really doesn't matter to me because Yu Darvish plays for the Dodgers. I'm rooting for Yu Darvish. It really sucks that he pitched really good for us, and really don't have anything to show for it. We trade him to the Dodgers, and boom, he's in the World Series, man. I'm really happy for him. I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him more than the Astros. I mean, the Astros is pretty much like, yeah, this is a Texas team, and this is a team that I always root for, the team that never won. You know what I'm saying? And they were there, twice before. But I want this to be the time, But either way, I'm rooting. For either one to be successful. And this is shaping out to be, some people calling it a 7-game series, man. For me, I want it to be 7, but with this, everybody's waiting on one team to blink. I think the Astros are going to blink first. I think the Dodgers have the more superior pitching staff. But very good series so far. Series tied 1-1. Very close games. So the first game was 3-1. Second game 7-6. Man, no blowout so far. It's just one of those series, man. I really got to pay attention to it, man. I don't want to miss out on something historical like this. And yeah, man, really need to get into it. But yeah, the series is tied 1-1. Game 3, I think it's tonight or tomorrow night. I gotta check that. But series tied 1-1. Martavis Bryant, and I'm gonna talk about the Eric Bledsoe, trade in the second segment. But the Martavis Bryant situation is getting kind of messy, man. Teams are interested in his services, but Mike Tomlin's like, nah, man, we just ain't gonna play you, man. You're not playing Sunday. You're gonna be on the scout team. And we have to hear that from Martavis Bryant himself, man. And Steelers are the type of organization where if any mess goes on, it's behind closed doors, unless it's on the field. The Antonio Bryant, Gatorade cooler incident. But Martavis Bryant is one of those guys. Talented is I don't know what, but his mentality, man, is questionable sometimes, man. Like Josh Gordon, like Justin Blackman, those type of guys. Like he is as talented as Dez Bryant, but he was never put in that number one role. I bet if he was on the team, you will see how valuable he is. Now, he and DeAndre Hopkins were teammates at Clemson. Now, would you love to see him on the Houston Texans? That goes into my first trade scenario. Houston Texans beefing up their wide receiver core. You move Will Fuller to that third receiver slot. He's already racking up the touchdowns. You move him to the third receiver slot, bro. Put Martavis Bryant with his former teammate at Clemson, DeAndre Hopkins. And then you got Deshaun Watson. Bro, that Clemson connection, man. Think about that. Now you ask yourself, okay, so what are the Houston Texans giving? What are they going to give, the Pittsburgh Steelers? A cornerback. Pittsburgh needs a corner. Houston has many corners. Houston has very, serviceable corners. They can, give up Boye. Pittsburgh probably had a slide draft pick with that, though. But they got attractive pieces in that secondary, man. Kevin Johnson. That's a perfect pick. Kevin Johnson for Martavis Bryant. Pittsburgh gets a nice, tall cornerback to go alongside Joe Hayden and Artie Burns. Man, I gotta ask Kill about that trade. I mean, of course, Kill doesn't want to trade Martavis Bryant because, he's just that good. And I mean, to me, it doesn't really hurt that offense because, they have so many weapons elsewhere. Eli Rogers he's serviceable. He could be a Devontae Adams type of guy. But, if you're retaining a really good cornerback, an up-and-coming cornerback, I don't think he'll say no to that. Houston, Texas is my first scenario. The best scenario for me is the Chicago Bears. Chicago is desperate for a wide receiver for Mitch Trubisky to throw to. They had Kevin White go down. They had Cam Meredith go down. They had their top three receivers go down to season-ending injuries. They traded for Dontrell Inman yesterday. And you bring in Martavis Bryant. And then Kevin White comes back next year along with Cam Meredith. You now have a very solid receiving core. And if Kevin White goes down, you still have Martavis Bryant. You still have Cam Meredith. You still got Dontrell Inman. Martavis Bryant is capable of being that number one receiver. He's big. He's your deep threat and a possession receiver all in one. And then Mitch Trubisky has weapons to throw to, along with the veteran Zach Miller. You think about that dynamic, and then Chicago's going to give them a very good pick along with that because they're desperate. They need Martavis Bryant. I think that's a very good. And if I'm Chicago, I am on the phone, nonstop until this deal gets done. Because you don't want a team like the Detroit Lions swooping in. Because Marvin Jones looks like a fucking bum. Kenny Galladay is falling off the map after having a very good preseason. Golden Tate is going, he's a very consistent guy. Golden Tate is Golden Tate. But, a team like that who needs one more guy to go over the hump, you don't need that. San Francisco might make a run at him. And then next year, San Francisco might make a run at Kirk Cousins. Now you have Martavis Bryant and Pierre Garçon. Now that offense in San Francisco isn't looking too bummy right now, right? Because they already have a running game. Another team to look out for, Washington Redskins. You know, they put all their faith in Jamison Crowder. They got Terrell Pryor. They got that one piece. You bring in Martavis Bryant, put him alongside Terrell Pryor. That's going to open up for the running game because they're backwards. They don't have a running game. Their passing game sets up their running game. And you add the fact that they have Jordan Reed, Martavis Bryant, Terrell Pryor, Chris Thompson coming out the backfield catching passes. And if they get a decent running game, oh man, they back to business. And also, dare I say, the New York Giants. They had Brandon Marshall on the sign for 1 year. He might just go off in the sunset after this. You trade for Martavis Bryant right now. You play for the rest of the season with, Evan Ingram, Lewis, and then next year you have Bryant along with OBJ and Sterling Shepard. You have a nice young, great receiving core. The receiving core that everybody thought you was going to have before the season started. There are a lot of takers for this guy. I mean, the Patriots can go for him, but they like to stand packed with shit like this. And plus, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. You don't want to feed them anything. You know what I'm saying? And plus, if I'm Pittsburgh, I wouldn't dare trade with the New England Patriots because that's your biggest competition. But there are a lot of takers for Martavis Bryant, man. Like, I wish because all of this is right off the head. Like, if I really thought hard about this, wrote this down, wrote all the trade scenarios down, this probably would take 20 minutes. But coming up in the Chris Rocky podcast, we're going to talk about the Eric Bledsoe situation and other NBA things that's going around. You've been listening to the Chris Rocky podcast.
Men, face it, the male menopause is real. You're going to lose your virility someday. How about now? In the time it has taken to listen to this commercial, you're less virile than you were at the start. You've just wasted a whole lot of sperm. The decline has begun. It is time to fight back. As you start to go gray, get saggy, you're being upstaged by young bucks who will seduce your women and take your fortune. They need to know you're still the alpha. They need to know you're top dog and they're still a little pup. However, staying on top isn't just about jacking yourself with testosterone until you're humping the furniture. You'll need to go big. Showtime, who's boss? Do something really impressive and tell everyone about it. Hike Kilimanjaro, dog sled across Siberia, trek across Antarctica, raft the Amazon. You need an adventure travel service that can take you to the far reaches of the earth and give you the kind of experience you can boast about back home. Show them what kind of man you really are. A man who is fighting for meaning the only way he knows how, by showing off. It's time to take the menopause by the throat and strangle the life out of it. Contact Menopause Adventures today or visit menopauseadventures.com.
Give them a mobile phone. What are they going to do when they get attacked? Throw it at someone? Why not force the state to keep us all protected by arming everybody? The senile old lady in her home, the 3-year-old on the playground, the priest in his church. We think everybody should carry weapons at all times. That way nobody gets hurt. It's a proven fact. Where there's more guns, there are less shootings. Vote yes on Proposition 45. Mandatory concealed carry for everybody. The nuclear deterrent won the Cold War. Let's use the same logic and win the war on crime. Proposition 45. Teach your kids to protect themselves.
Welcome back to the Chris Rocky podcast, and a very eventful last 6 days for the NBA. You got the Bledsoe situation. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But the surprise teams, man, you got Brooklyn. Brooklyn been hooping, man. The other night, they had upset Cleveland without D'Angelo Russell. and LeBron was playing. The Brooklyn Nets are 3-1. Let that sink in. The Brooklyn fucking Nets, man. Oh wait, let me make sure that I'm correct. I hate to be wrong. I picked the right time to have a dead phone, but what did happen? Oh, here it is. It was sitting right next to me. But Brooklyn's been hooping, man. I've been telling y'all about, you know, like when you get a team full of guys like that, man. You know, you're gonna get, you know, you got a chip on your shoulder. You know, they gonna hoop. And that's exactly what the hell they did. And yeah, it was a close game at the end, but like, them dudes are hooping out there. Crab, Carroll hitting threes. Shit, even Mozgov was putting in work. Yeah, Brooklyn is 3-2. You know who's at top of the Eastern Conference right now? The freaking Orlando Magic. I don't know where the hell Aaron Gordon. Yeah, first of all, shout out to Aaron Gordon. You know, you figured out that you can't shoot 10 threes a game. Take it to the hole and do what you do. Use your athleticism, use your power, because it seems like everybody named Mama can go to the hole and lay it up now. He figured it out. He had a 40-point game. Milwaukee 3-1, no surprise there. Washington 3-1 with that loss against the Lakers. I was so mad because I picked Washington to win, first of all. But you know, that Lakers team is good, but they, you know, you can't squander a lead like that. Out of 2 blown layups by Randall and Lonzo Ball, man, come on, man. And then, you know, the winless teams out there in the East, you got Chicago and New York. And then right behind them is Philadelphia at 1-4. That team, to me, is getting a little messy over there with Markelle Fultz, man, with that shoulder. I don't know if it's, you know, if it's really swollen like they say it is or what. But, you know, but from 11 on up, man, I think it's pretty competitive. Atlanta might just sneak in there, but, you know, Philly needs to get back in, you know, but, you know, I will say Brooklyn's going to come back to reality, but, man, I like the way they playing. Orlando might just come back to reality, but then again, if Aaron Gordon keep hooping the way he hooping, who knows, man? The East might not be no slouches, man. And of course, my Mavericks finally won. We beat the Memphis Grizzlies, man, and coincidentally, we were going to the hole. We were taking it to the cup. Amazing, right? Amazing how successful you be when you be aggressive with the basketball. I mean, Marc Gasol was just killing us on the threes, but, you know, it's amazing how successful you can be when you take the ball to the hole, be aggressive. And right behind us is New Orleans, Sacramento, and Denver. Sacramento, I feel like they're gonna be hooping. And the top 8 is right now: Oklahoma City, Lakers, Golden State, Memphis, Portland, Houston at 4-1. Clippers at 3-0 and San Antonio at 4-0. Nobody's even talking about the fucking Spurs right now. Nobody's talking about the Spurs. The Spurs are quietly 4-0. That damn Popovich, man, I didn't even know they were 4-0. But shit, I guess it is what it is, man. But I mean, but it's just, that's just one of the greatest things about San Antonio. Just low key, quietly, just putting together a good season, just like always, man. And they just keep fucking ticking, man. The big news, well, to me, the big news was Eric Bledsoe said he didn't want to be there because Phoenix fired Earl Watson. And they fired 2 more staff members. And Eric Bledsoe tweeted, "I don't want to be here." And then trying to retract, saying I was in a hair salon. Basically saying that he didn't want to be in a hair salon. Okay, bro. The GM was like, bullshit. Man, I ain't stupid. So they're gonna put him on the trade. They got him on the trading block. They calling around, and they're gonna look for some takers. Yeah, of course, me. I love shit like this. Potential trades, I love it. I don't think I got one yet though. I think the closest I got was probably the Enes Kanter to New York. I think that was about as close as I got. But that was only because they told me the team that was in serious talks. So I kind of went off of that. This right here, there is no, like, I guess New York has probably, been put out there as probably the front runner. But like for this particular situation, there, nobody knows. So of course I come up with my top three trade possibilities, courtesy of the ESPN trade machine, where you can go look at the salaries, you can go see if it worked. I only looked at one of these to see if it worked, and it did. We're gonna start out with Orlando. Yes, Orlando. Phoenix. They can use some rebounding. So I offered Phoenix Bismack Biyombo or Nikola Vucevic. Now I guess at this point Orlando's probably gonna be like, on the Vucevic. But then again, they've been trying to trade Vucevic for the last year and a half, and they're like, there's no way his value can be this high. So they might trade him, And then Bismack Biyombo, he's a guy that's very consistent. He could come off the bench. He can be on the floor with Marquise Chris, because Alex Len, for some reason, he's kind of like, in the doghouse over there. And Dragan Bender been getting a lot more minutes over there. Then, of course, Tyson Chandler, he's getting up there in age, and they need a guy that, can hold down the fort. Give Tyson Chandler some relief minutes, But Bismack Biyombo or Nikola Vucevic straight up for Eric Bledsoe. You might see a couple, draft picks in there just to, increase the value or to entice the value, whatever. But that's one of my picks. Of course, Orlando, they a good offensive team, and they just going to get better offensively. Bring Elfrid Payton off the bench. He can be a nice little spark off the bench. A starting point guard, I don't think he's quite there yet. He's not bad, but I think that, him coming off the bench with, Simmons and, Space and all them, man, it could be live over there, man. An interesting one involves a 3-team trade. As you can see, the players involved right there. Indiana and Denver are the other 2 teams involved. And I think this is a trade that'll help everybody. I will send Bledsoe to Indiana. I will send Thad Young to Denver. And I'll send Kenny Fareed to Phoenix. If you look at that dynamic. Indiana, they got Big Al. As far as who gonna replace Thad Young, who is a very good defender, small forward. Small forward is his natural position, but they had him playing power forward. You got Sabonis right there. Sabonis can get a little bit more minutes. Sabonis been putting in work. And then you got Lance Stevenson over there. Lance Stevenson can play the 3. So you're not gonna miss a beat when Thad Young leaves. Kenny Fareed. Denver has a log jam at the 4. So, and they, he's kind of like the odd man out over there. So you send him off to Phoenix. Like I said, Phoenix needs some rebounding. They get rebounding. They get a guy who's inspired. They get a guy who's angry. They get a guy who's going to work all the minutes that he's on the floor. And that's exactly what they need, that infusion of energy off the bench. And that would be so perfect for that squad over there. The guards, Tyler Ulis, Mike James, Devin Booker, T.J. Warren, they're good. You get a guy like Kenny Fareed to install in that off that bench, that team will be knocking on the door for the 8th seed. They need to make this trade happen. And of course, Indiana getting Bledsoe. Indiana's already good. Offensively, they can score. They're dynamic. You got Collison, you got Kojo over there. You bring in Bledsoe as a whole nother scorer. Now, of course, the one person that's not going to like this is Victor Oladipo, who's been putting in work, man. He's a primary scorer, and he's acting like it. He's putting in that work, man. You bring in Bledsoe, it's probably going to be like, golly, man, what do I got to do, man? And that's going to throw him off. But if they can coexist and, get the ball and drive, because they're both slashers. They get the ball and drive. Oladipo, get the ball and drive. You know what I'm saying? If they can work this like, who can I compare it to? I can't compare it to John Wall and Bradley Beal, because Bradley Beal can actually shoot. And when Bradley Beal drives, you got Gortat down low. And then John Wall, he'll, dribble off the dribble, mid-range shot. These two guys, Bledsoe and Oladipo, they're not really good outside shooters. So I guess there's no comparison, in regards to them. So I feel like it's a possible, destination. And if you're a Pacers fan, you're gonna like it on the surface. But of course, Oladipo is not gonna like this, and you can probably hear him saying, "Nah, man, we good, man, we good." And then we need that young, you know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, this is what I think is a possibility. The third possibility, which I feel like is the most likely, is because Jeff Hornacek was Eric Bledsoe's coach his first year in Phoenix. I'm gonna do this first proposal, which is unreasonable, but I feel like if I'm New York, I will do it. I will slide Joakim Noah in here, or I will at least kind of be like, you know what? How about this on some impossible shit? Joakim Noah and Hernan Gomez and 3 to 4 first-round picks. Now I say 3 first-round picks because Noah has 3 years left on his contract. If they can kind of nudge Joakim Noah in there and entice them with, the first round picks, because like, we're gonna be terrible anyway. So, just kind of nudge them in there. But of course, Phoenix is looking for a high profile, not high profile, but a very up and coming player. I feel like Hernan Gomez is that guy though, but I guess that'll kind of stunt the growth for Marquise Chris, because he's on the up and up. But that's from New York's perspective. If I'm New York, any trade New York is involved in, I'm gonna nudge Joakim Noah in there. I'm trying to get him out of there, because apparently with the Enes Kanter trade and them playing Kuzmiskis and Hernan Gomez and Kyle O'Quinn all these minutes, Joakim Noah is out of the door. They trying to, eventually they're gonna buy him out, but they're gonna try to nudge him on to someone else. But the most reasonable trade that I came up with was Courtney Lee and Kuzmiskis for Eric Bledsoe. I feel like this is a very good trade, and Kuzmiskis is a guy that can do both. He can shoot and he can rebound. Big body down low. Like I said, Alexander's in the doghouse. You can have him at the 5, you can have him at the 4. Very versatile. And of course, Courtney Lee, you can have him alongside Devin Booker. Let T.J. Warren come off the bench, or vice versa. And you have defense, and you have a shooter for Devin Booker to kick it out, to Tyler Ulis to kick it out, Mike James to kick it out. And then next year, you have Courtney Lee on an expiring contract. You have Brandon Knight coming back. You can flip Courtney Lee for something else. or you can flip Brandon Knight. But why? I mean, why would you, trade Brandon Knight? Coming off injury, his value isn't really going to be that high unless somebody like very desperate, tries to get him. But these are the 3 destinations that I feel like are possible, and I want to be on record to say I'm gonna stick with these 3, trades. I really feel like these are the ones that make sense to me. Now, Bledsoe fits in a lot of places, but you want to think of financially, where things that where finances work, because people don't think about that. Like, he would fit good with the Cavaliers. Okay, who you gonna trade? They're not gonna get Channing Frye. Channing Frye played there already. We just trade. Hey, if they trade Tristan Thompson though, but then again they got Isaiah Thomas right now. They got Derrick Rose. They got Dwayne Wade. Well, Dwayne Wade can play the 2. They got too many guards. And of course Bledsoe and LeBron, they get along, man. But you can't put everybody on Cleveland, man. You can't put everybody on the Warriors. Can't put everybody on Houston. If he goes to Houston, I quit. I quit. As a Mavericks fan, I'm going to quit, man. But these are the 3 destinations I see Eric Bledsoe going. Indiana in a 3-way, Orlando, and New York. I feel like New York is most likeliest, though. Coming up on the Chris Rocket Podcast, you know how we do to end the show. NFL reactions and predictions. You've been listening to the Chris Rocket Podcast.
Don't miss the next episode of Serious Cougar. Eunice goes on a bender with a pool boy and breaks her hip. If women in their 20s don't know their ass from their elbow, and women in their 50s know what they like, imagine being with an experienced, pleasure-loving octogenarian wrestling with dementia and horniness. The show that hits below the belt, just like her breasts. Serious Cougar, Wednesday nights at 9 on Weasel.
In the sea, there are big fish and there are little fish. The same is true on land. But which are you? Isn't it time to define yourself? At Shark, we have different Shark credit cards based on your level of insecurity. Let your credit card color define you. Go on a shopping spree with a red Shark card. The great white Shark is a beast of a card. Everyone in the restaurant will see it and know you are the ultimate predator. Tiger Shark is for the flamboyant spender. The bull shark for the violent, aggressive predator who hunts in all kinds of environments. Or there's the charitable basking shark, the card for the slow-moving liberal with no teeth. Shark for the apex predator.
Welcome back to the Chris Rocket Podcast. In week number 7, I went 9-6. Tony actually got his first place win. He had an impressive 13-2 record. Second place was Z, who was kind of like, he crept back in that first place spot. Roy had a 10-5 record, dropped 1 game below him. But yeah, shout out to Tony, man. Tony was, 4-10 the week before, bounced back with a 13-2 record. Hey, I see you, Tony, putting in work. Hopefully you get the same success this week, man. For as me, I went 9-6. I've been pretty mediocre, but I've been improving. If I look at the glass half full. Previous week I had 8. I went 8-6, so I'm improving. Of course, 9-6. That tallies out to a 60% record. But I'm hanging on for dear life, man. I'm 4 games back. I'm in 4th place. Matt just hopped over me, but it's all good. For the season, I'm still 61.7%. Still holding on. I need to get a little bit better, get a little bit more comfortable in that 6% range, just so I won't have no bumps in the road all the way down towards the end. This week seems to be pretty easy for the most part. A lot of unanimous games or whatever, but hey, this season has been very weird. So anything can happen. But my predictions for week number 8. We're going to start out with the Thursday night game. We got Miami at Baltimore. I do not trust Baltimore. I want to change so bad because Jay Cutler isn't there. But then again, I'm thinking, well, maybe the fact that Cutler ain't there is probably a good thing. And then that running game could probably, cover up for, who they have at quarterback. You know what I'm saying? But then again, Matt Moore might just throw for like 300-something yards. But then again, that's that Baltimore defense. Like, it has a lot of ifs and buts. But Baltimore has been really tripping lately, man. I'm going to give Miami a chance, man. I got Miami in this game. The London game, we got Minnesota at Cleveland, but I guess technically it ain't at Cleveland, but this is a home game for Cleveland. I'm going to pick the Vikings to have the better defense. Myles Garrett's on concussion protocol. I don't know what's going to come out with that. I do feel like this is going to be a close-ass game. Latavius Murray broke out for 100-plus yards last week, man, so they got a pretty potent running game, man, for the Vikings. So I'm going to go with the Vikings, man. They got a much better offense and a much better defense, but it's going to be a close game. Atlanta at the New York Jets. I got Atlanta in this game. I think Atlanta is feeling themselves a little bit more. I know they lost. They lost last week, but this is a team that can bounce back. This is the Jets. The Jets offense, even though McCown threw for 350 a couple weeks ago, I think, with the limited amount of cornerbacks that's available for the Jets, and, they got Jamal Adams back there, but it's way too much for the Jets. I got Atlanta in this. Carolina at Tampa Bay. This is a tough game, but I'm going to go with Carolina because I think they figured it out a little bit. They just need to be consistent. And this is pretty much a game between two teams that were high on people list. Tampa Bay, they got so much potential, man, but Carolina is just too much of that defense. Of course, Tampa Bay has a very underrated defense, but, I'm going to go with Carolina in this game because they got a little bit more on offense. All right. San Francisco at Philly. This is a no-brainer. I'm going to go with Philly. Jason Peters is out for the season, but the thing about that Philly offensive line, they got Lane Johnson, and left tackle is his natural position, so they're probably going to slide him to the left tackle, and they ain't going to miss a beat. So I'm going to pick Philly in this game. Chicago at New Orleans. I think Chicago's finding its way. Tony actually picked Chicago in this game, man. So, hey, big most luck to you. They did trade for Dontrell Inman from the Los Angeles Chargers, so they get a little bit more help on offense. New Orleans is just too much in that passing game, and they got like a really good, decent running game with Mark Ingram. I'm going to go with New Orleans in this game. Chargers at New England. This is going to be interesting because, of course, we know the Patriots can't stop anybody, but they were able to stop the Falcons last week. So, are they going to continue that role this week against the Chargers, or are they going to allow Phillip Rivers to throw for 498 yards and 27 touchdowns in this game? We shall see, but I got New England. Oakland at Buffalo. I picked Oakland, just the better team, straight up. Indianapolis at Cincinnati. I got Cincinnati. I just feel like this is going to be a shootout, and Indianapolis ain't going to be able to keep up. Houston at Seattle. This is a very interesting game. Seattle, they not quite as what we thought they were on offense, even though it can. They just really need there's a consistent running game. They need to have a running game to where it's like, okay, we respect it enough to play straight up. But Houston, it has proved throughout the season that they can weather the storm without Merciless and J.J. Watt. But, of course, they used to playing without J.J. Watt, period, because he's been injured the last couple years. So I'm going to pick Houston in this game. I predict probably a special teams touchdown and a defensive touchdown in this game. This is going to be a very good game. I'm going to definitely be on the lookout for this game. While my game, Dallas at Washington, Zeke will play. So, whether Zeke played or not, I'm going to pick Dallas over Washington. I just feel like Washington is not good enough Want to keep an eye on Josh Norman's injury. I think he had some cracked ribs or whatever. Josh Norman normally stops Dez Bryant, and in this game, Cole Beasley usually goes off, Terrence Williams. But I'm going to pick Bryce Butler to actually go off in this game. Not off like 150 yards off. I'm talking about like probably 90-something yards, which is really good for him. I got Dallas in this game. The Sunday night game, Pittsburgh at Detroit. I got Pittsburgh. I just feel like, Detroit, Matt Stafford might get him a few gifts here and there. Got Pittsburgh in this game. And the Monday night game, we got Denver at Kansas City. Like I said, Kansas City got to show me that they can't do shit. So I'm going to go with Kansas City. Even though they got one loss, Denver isn't consistent like I want them to. So I'm going to pick Kansas City in this game. Hopefully I get fucking 10 wins this time, man. I've been straddling the line, man. I've been 9 wins, 8, and 9 since that very epic week 2 where I had 13-3 and then 10-6 in week 1. I got to get back to the 10-win column, man. But hopefully I do well this week. That's my show for today, man. I appreciate you guys for listening. We're going to keep an eye on that World Series, man. It's ramping up. It's looking great right now, man. Dodgers versus the Houston Astros. See you guys next week. You've been listening to the Chris Rocky Podcast.